Welcome to Ryan's Rock Show. My name is Ryan. I'm the host of the program. It's our Britney Spears is the Best Mom Ever edition of Ryan's Rock Show. Today we're going to be speaking to a band from Southern California. They're called I Am Ghost. But first, your weekly essential where we play you a band that you need to know if you don't know them already. This band is called Drop Dead Gorgeous, and you're listening to Ryan's Rock Show. Drop Dead Gorgeous for your weekly essential. Be sure to send us your comments, your questions, and or your suggestions to ryansrockshow.com. Now, I had a chance to catch up with Ryan, the drummer from I Am Ghost. This is what he had to say.
I want to up and leave and come out here?
Yeah, pretty much.
Really?
Yeah.
Give me the story. Did you go to college or anything?
I didn't go to college, actually. It goes way back, like a long time ago, though. I mean, this has like nothing to do with I Am Ghost, but
Yeah.
I moved out here when I was, I think, 19. But when I graduated high school, I got this gig with this all-girl band that was on Lookout Records called the Eyeliners.
The Eyeliner, really hot.
Yeah, they're pretty good looking, you know.
Are they still a band?
No, they broke up like a year ago. But we were on Lookout Records, and I did Warped Tour 2002 with them, and then I did a No Use for a Name Yellowcard tour with them as well.
Oh yeah.
And then they decided that because they did this rotating drummer thing, and then that was when I decided that I think maybe I should move out to LA and pursue music since I just got like a little bit of a taste of what it's really like, you know.
That's cool as hell, man.
Yeah. So then I worked for 3 years just playing in different bands and stuff, and then I had some mutual friends and I joined I Am Ghost.
So when you came out here, did you move to Studio City right away?
No, I lived in like 7 different places.
Where was the first place that you lived?
Oh my God. First place I lived in like Pasadena for a little bit. I was going to like a music school.
Yeah, I don't like it out there.
Yeah, I was living in Pasadena, and then I moved to like Orange County. Lived in like 4 different places down there, and then I met up with some friends that I knew that knew I Am Ghost. And, yeah, and then they needed a drummer by like their like 4th show, and then I tried out and I made it.
Dang. So what were they doing the other 4 shows before you came?
Well, they had just became a band like really late 2004, but they didn't really get started until like early 2005. And I was in this other band, it just wasn't working out, so I decided that I needed some sort of a change, and it just happened perfectly, So.
Dang, that's awesome, man.
Yeah.
So you came out here, you got an I Am Ghost.
Yep.
Is it true that like the other guys met on MySpace?
Oh yeah, that's actually that's how the band started originally.
Really?
Steve, our singer, used to be in this band called The Silence. It wasn't working out too well with him. He wanted like to have his vision be seen through, so he decided that he was gonna a band called I Am Ghost out of a Tone Throat, and so he started having friends. Hey, we had like eerie music, and so people were just like, oh, what's this? And there's kind of like a little buzz going. And then their first show ever, like they got the members like, it was like first like I Am Ghost needs a guitar player, and then I Am Ghost needs bass, but it just kind of went on and on. And then,
I see.
Yeah, so finally when they got all the members, they just went to record a demo, which is what Epitaph re-released called We Are Always Searching.
Oh, dang.
Yeah. So they re-released it. And but they only recorded it as a band when they were like 2 months old or whatever. So they recorded like 6 songs. And so the very first show ever was at the El Rey with Tsunami Bomb. That was their very first show ever. And then from there they started selling out their shows. And then they had a problem with their drummer, and that's where I came in.
Wow.
So it was about the 4th or 5th show. Yeah, I think it was their 5th show. It was like right before we got signed to Epitaph. All these labels already talking to them because they're like, wow, like they're selling out all their shows, like. This is so unheard of. Like a band hasn't like toured and gotten like all their fans on MySpace. Like, just I mean, when MySpace was around at first, it just wasn't like as common,
Yeah.
But to find a band on MySpace, I mean, like now it's like wildfire anywhere you go. Just with any band on it.
That's insane.
Yeah. So.
But that's cool. Like that's like modern. That's modern, dude.
Yeah.
That's great. Yeah, I know. I have a friend actually who's friends with Steve, and she said that he's like a really hard worker, and he's been in bands forever.
Yeah, definitely. His work ethic is like no other. That actually when the band first actually started, he was like all the songs they recorded was like studio. After like their first show or whatever, or actually before their first show, he spent like hours and hours a day just like burning discs and going to shows and passing out CDs.
Really?
He burned like 4,000 on his own.
Gosh.
Like no joke, dude. Just had a computer, like boom, boom, boom. So
that's dedication, man.
Yeah. So you really want.
That is nuts. Yeah. So 4,000 copies that he burned just there on his computer.
Yeah, he sent them all over the world. Like he made like a post, like if you want to like get a free CD, we'll send it to you. He did. So.
Damn.
Yeah, all over. So
how'd you guys hook up with Epitaph?
they came out to a couple. Well, I guess it first started off with like them MySpacing us, and they're like, hey, you know, we really are interested in your band, and we were just like, yeah, whatever.
Is this before the music came out?
No, this is while, you know, playing shows. Like everybody's contacting us, man. Like, okay, Victory, Militia, Warner, Nitro, you name it, like they're at our door, you know.
Yeah.
So we played a bunch of shows. Epitaph kept on coming. They kept on bringing the whole staff, and like, you know, all of us grew up. I mean, like I should say, me and Steve are mostly like guys that grew up like listening to like a lot of like Epitaph bands. You know, we were just, wow, this is so cool, and like, you know, we see that bands on Epitaph have like a certain longevity, and that's why we were like, you know, maybe this is the best way to go. So we you know. Right, we got signed. They didn't want us to tour right away. They wanted us to go write a record, so we did that, and then, you know, we recorded it in I should say mid like 2006, and then it came out later that year. Yeah. And it's been out for a little over a year now, but we're this is actually our last tour before we're gonna go back and start writing for another record. So.
Awesome.
I'm kind of excited about that.
That's really cool, man.
Yeah.
I guess, has Epitaph lived up to your expectations so far?
I think so, you know. It's, you know, being on Epitaph, just being on like, you know, any other label, you know, they just they expect a certain amount out of you, and they can only do so much for your band, you know, like your band really has to.
You have to get out there and do it, yeah.
Exactly. So, but yeah, I mean, there hasn't been any like horror stories or anything, you know, like we can all call Epitaph whenever we want, you know, we stop in their offices, like.
But they're right down the street.
Oh yeah.
So that's cool.
And they were really supportive too. And I don't know if you know this, but we had two members depart the band.
I was gonna ask why they got kicked out.
Well, they actually wanted to quit. Because,
really? You didn't kick them out?
No.
That would have been cooler.
Yeah. Well, it's just, you know, it's when the band started, like, they were super religious, Brian and Kareth, and then they like wanted to get married and all this stuff, and we just felt like this, like, you know, it was starting to become like about them, you know, like, I mean, it's fine, you know, like we kind of knew we were getting into, and they were like in a relationship, and then they wanted to get married, and it's just like, well, how long can a married couple be like in a traveling punk rock band, you know, in a van going across the country?
So it was you, Steve, and those two?
And us, yeah, and then the guitar players, that are still in the band. So,
man,
so they, you know, they decided that, you know, this wasn't the best thing for them, and that, you know, they were like super religious, and, you know, our beliefs like didn't match. I mean, we don't, you know, we don't mind they're Christian, you know, they don't.
You guys worship the devil?
You know, I sit around in my room with like little marbles and candles.
Me too, man.
I try to worship the dead as much as possible.
Yeah. Wow. So what is she doing now?
She's a 5th grade teacher down in Fullerton.
Oh, so she went back to teaching.
Yeah, and then Brian went back to college to become a pastor.
Wow.
Yeah. It's kind of
not to crack on him or anything, but what's it like, I guess, being in a punk rock band and then going back to being a teacher? I guess you wouldn't know personally.
You know what? You know, I mean, I think it was one of those things where, like, they might have not known what they were getting into, you know? Because, like, you look at all the bands that have been on Epitaph, and you've seen, like, you know, they've had to work, you know? They've had to work their asses off. It's like, you know, in our van and trailer right now, like, well, we were really, really privileged on, well, we went overseas earlier this year. Mm-hmm. We went out with this band called The Bronx, and the Audition and Biffy Clyro, they're all, like, great bands. Yeah. And we just did this thing called the Kerrang! Tour. And it was kind of like a cool, you know, it was cool. Like, we were playing for, like, thousands of people a night, and then we came back to the States, and then we did this, like, Epitaph tour, where we had, like, buses and, like, Epitaph and all these sponsors paying for it. And then, like, you know, we had a month off, and then we come back to the, you know, this, like, hardcore tour with the Chariot, and, like, there wasn't as many people, and, like, and we were having to, like, drive ourselves, and the drives were on, but, like, dude, that's, like, punk rock, man. Punk rock, don't care.
Rock. Yeah.
You know? It's like, you gotta pay your dues, man.
So we went, and the one dude went to become a pastor?
Yeah, I mean, he's always been, like, kind of religious. I mean, he's going back from music, but I'm just thinking, like, well, he was in a band playing music, so I don't know what he wants. But, you know, whatever it is, whatever it is, they want to find, like, you know, good luck to them. I mean, I still talk to, you know, like, their family and cousins and all that stuff, so, I mean, I'm pretty close with Brian's side of the family. But,
that's cool.
Yeah. So, I really wish them the best of luck. We want them to be happy, you know? So.
Yeah, I mean,
I mean, everybody can do what they want now. We want to tour and write records, and they want to play, house. That's fine,
Like, they can play house.
Yeah.
They can play with their Barbie dolls.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I mean, it's not knocking on them or anything, but it's just like, you don't sign the Epitaph Records and then you just bail like that, So I'm just really like happy and surprised and stoked that Epitaph even wants to be a part of the band still.
At least they're still behind you, like, dude, you guys rock.
Yeah, so.
Dang. So, like, what happens, like, when you guys were on tour, like, with them before, not to keep talking about it or anything, but, like, I mean, what about chicks that would come up, like, little groupie chicks that would come up?
I don't really think, Brian was in the band, like, for another 2 months, and he decided after she left that he just needed to be at home with her, so, I don't really think that his mind was in that, state. But I mean,
what about you and Steve? Did you guys feel guilty going off with chicks? What did you get?
Well,
You're like, hey, baby, come back here.
Everybody in the band, but Steve has a girlfriend. so
cool.
we don't mess around. We're just really focused, and we know what we want. And that's how it goes.
Steve knows how it's done.
Steve knows how it's done. He can go after the girls.
That's great.
We'll leave it all up to him.
That's great, man. What are some bands that you've grown up listening to that you've toured with so far that you're like, whoa, dude, this is great? Totally beyond my expectations.
I'd have to say Strung Out. I mean, it's kind of a weird eclectic tour because like we sound nothing like them. But I mean, it's just cool the fact that like we get to go out with some of our like punk rock heroes. I mean, a band that kind of took me by surprise was when we did our first headlining tour. We went out with Vox, and that band was like amazing.
Didn't they break up?
Yeah, they just barely broke up.
Wow.
And this record that like probably won't even see the light of day. It's so amazing. It'd be like if like Radiohead went hardcore, It's rad, dude. But they self-released it. They got all sorts of fucked by Atlantic Records, and we heard all sorts of stories from those guys. But that band, like musically, that band was really awesome.
I saw them play with Blood Brothers like 4 or 5 years ago. In like this basement, and because I'm from Ohio, and it was like
cool,
in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
And the dude just fucking, it was cool.
Yeah, and then we toured, and then our first tour we actually ever did was with Matchbook Romance on the Take Out tour. That band, like, I think that record Voices just totally got overlooked, man. It was like a rockin' Muse or something, but like with Matchbook, esque like. Vocals. So, but I just think it was such a great record, and just it was just such a weird departure from what they did, from their last record. I mean, like I'm into all sorts of things, man. Like even the record that I don't want to say everybody hates, but like Thrice is a Vahisu is like awesome. We played with them at Bamboozle. Bands like that. We've toured with our buddies Aiden. I'm gonna plug them, but. If those guys, like, if it wasn't for those guys, a lot of things probably wouldn't be happening with our band.
Really? I just saw them not too long. Well, I think
their new record's great. That's just me. I mean, like, I think it's and like I said again, they may have shot themselves in the foot. I don't know. Time will tell. But like, they don't sound anything like their old record. Like, nothing. It's like if I were to play this new recording and like the old Aiden, nobody would even know. What the hell? Like, this is the same band? Crazy.
I haven't heard it, so I can't judge. But I'm gonna take your word for it.
Yeah, they're just the best bunch of dudes, man. So we really like the Aiden guys. From All the Ashes are really cool. We toured with them earlier this year too. I think every band that we've gone on tour with has been like really awesome though. So
that's cool, man. Like I think most people in bands are pretty cool. Like every band that I've interviewed so far, everybody's been pretty damn cool. Yeah. So it's
we're all just people kind of trying to see through, I
know, man. I don't know what it's like for you, but like I talk about this with a lot of people in bands and stuff. But like when you're a kid and you're growing up and you're like seeing bands, you have a different perspective of like what it's like. But once you're actually doing stuff in it, it's like it's not as.
I just remember going to shows and I was like, I started going to shows when I was like 13.
Me too.
And like my mom would take me until I was like 15. Stand in the back.
My mom still takes me.
Yeah. Yeah, man. So it's just. It's something for all ages, but I just remember moments like when I saw, there's like, keep in mind I grew up in Salt Lake City, Utah.
Yeah.
I saw this band, No Motive, Jimmy Eat World, and Face to Face, and they played in front of like 40 people, and I was like, what the hell? Like this is like changing my life right now. And I think this is when, I think like Clarity just came out.
Oh yeah?
This was in like 2000, and I know for a fact that this is when Face to Face put out that record, Ignorance is Bliss, and that was just, I think if they released that record like 2 years later, it would have been a completely different. Yeah.
They were rocking, man.
Yeah.
I even heard them on the radio.
Yeah.
I mean, they were getting radio play and everything.
Oh, sure. I mean, they were a great band, but I mean, I don't know what happened to them.
Yeah, I was just gonna ask, like, they just kind of disintegrated.
Yeah. I think Trevor Keith just, like, produces now, and I know that drummer was playing for Saves the Day for a while, but now he's in the Offspring.
Oh, yeah?
Drums, yeah.
What's the Offspring doing nowadays?
I think trying to write a new record. I have no idea.
I mean, like, the early stuff was cool as hell. Smash.
Sure.
Woo.
Oh, yeah, that was actually,
amazing.
that came out on Epitaph, and
Yep.
it still holds the record for most albums sold on an independent.
It's amazing. I
think it's sold like 12 million or something like that.
12 million.
On an independent label, yeah. That's insane.
That is insane.
So, but I mean, Brett Gerwitz saw it through, man. He didn't sell them to a big company and all, at first, and so it was cool.
Is Brett gonna be here tonight?
He's not. He's out of town. He had to do some business. I think he's gonna try to sign another band.
Really? Who is it?
I have no idea.
He doesn't give you that info.
No, I just kind of look at the side. I'm like, oh, that's cool. You just signed Sounds of Animals Fighting? Rad. Oh, who's it? Farewell? Okay, cool. So they're signing a lot of bands. So they must be doing.
How often do they sign bands?
You know what? I don't know actually. I mean, when they signed us, they probably signed like 2 or 3 after. Like we got signed probably at the same time as Escape the Fate and Vanna. I don't know if you know that band Vanna.
I've heard of.
That band's ridiculous, dude. Really? They're like up and comers for sure. But yeah,
I would check their music out. What do they sound like?
Like Every Time I Die meets like Under Oath, Norma Jean, that kind of feel.
They got that Christian vibe going?
No.
Okay. Because I was like...
and like a little bit of like Southern rock going, but
that's
like
cool.
they're rad as hell.
Dude, I'll have to check it out tonight then.
So that record's great. It's called Curses. But
awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. So like with Epitaph, I have a question. You may not know this, but maybe they've spilled the beans a little bit to you.
Okay.
I was reading this article like back in the day that Brett was going to sign Sublime. Like way back in the day, but they were smoking crack or something, and he was trying to stay clean.
You know what's so funny? Like I've been, to the Epitaph studio. I've been there, and I've seen like, plaques presented to like Brett Gerwitz for like, $500,000. I have no idea. I was like kind of wondering that same thing. I was like, what did he have to do with Sublime?
They own the West Coast.
Yeah,
and that's what I don't understand. Like.
I never actually got to see Sublime. I only got to see like the Dub All Stars or whatever.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's the only thing that's the closest thing I saw to that.
Oh man.
Yeah, I have no idea, man. I wish I could help you out. But.
Yeah, I've always wondered that. Like I met this one dude at Warped Tour, and I think he used to work for Epitaph. He was trying to explain it, but he was totally drunk out of his mind.
Yeah.
And it didn't make any sense, so I figured like, I'll just talk to the guys in Epitaph. I should call him up and ask him.
Sure.
Get Brett on the phone and just be like, hey dude, what's up?
Hey man, yeah.
I should, man. That's cool. So now that you're in a band, now that you're touring around, and is it what you wanted?
Yeah.
Now looking back on it?
I always, you always aim for the highest you could possibly go, I mean, I'm happy where I am right now.
Yeah.
I'd rather be poor and happy than to be rich and wanting more, I guess.
Yeah.
So, I mean, but for now, I'm pretty satisfied with what things are going. I mean, we just had such a tough year, just like with like 2 members departing and. Because we found our bass player. Well, here's the story. So we found a new bass player. Actually, I found him because I was friends with him like 3 years before, and he used to be in this band from New York called Third Estate.
Never heard of him.
Okay, well, he and I first met on Warped Tour like 5 years ago, and I was like filling in for the Eyeliners, and his band was like traveling on the Warped Tour, and they were setting up their own stage in PA. Like Kevin Lyman was like, yeah, you can be on Warped Tour, but you gotta like, we're not gonna feed you, and you gotta like set up your own. You gotta set up your own stage in PA, and you gotta play like a couple times a day, but we'll give you like all access passes and all this. You know what I mean? So like. That's how I met him, and I was like, damn, those guys are like really hard workers. So what ended up happening is like we knew Brian was going to leave like right at the beginning of Warped Tour, and so we had like we just were doing tour like back to back. Like we went from like Warped Tour we actually went like from the Chariot straight to Warped Tour, straight to Aiden, straight to Strung Out. So
jeez, dude.
Yeah, and so we haven't really had like that much of a break, and like we this is our second tour with Strung Out, but the last tour we did with Strung Out, like we only had like a 3-week break, and then we just hopped on this one. This has been like about 5 weeks now. Yeah. So, like, just having Ron in the band, like, he flew, well, we had a bunch of people try out, but, like, we were trying out people on this thing called the John Lennon Bus, this year on Warped Tour, and, like, there's a bunch of people I knew from, like, the years of just, being in bands and being in music, and they all flew out, and they all tried out, and we picked Ron.
Well, you lost 2 members, but at least you got powerhouse members now.
Exactly, man. That's what you just got to be headstrong and have a good head on your shoulders to do this, you know? So it's not meant for everybody.
Did you ever walk in on those 2 doing it?
No, but, I mean, they're actually really good on the, you know, they weren't so bad.
They're waiting until they're married?
I think they were waiting until they were married.
Wow, I could never do that, dude.
I couldn't either.
Thanks to Ryan for coming on the show. We leave you this week shining some limelight on the band. They're called Demon Hunters.